Here we go in 3, 2, and 1. Joining us now, the head coach of the now 11-time CIF Southern Section championship winning Mater Dei Monarchs, Bruce Rollinson. Coach, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate it, Sam. It's an exciting time. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we caught our breath a little bit Sunday and Monday. And what I did, last year was our first experience, and the old school Bruce Rollinson last year, I wanted to go right back to work, right back on the field, and full pads and start to prepare. And we knew we were playing De La Salle. But when I watched the kids leave the field after the 17 game, you could sense they were tired. They were excited. They won the division, and cooler heads prevailed. I'm fortunate with my experienced staff. They grabbed me and they said, we gotta shut it down a little bit. So I gave them off, needless to say, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday we made that like a Saturday. So we repeated the process in 18. No football activity Monday. Yesterday we did what we do on Saturdays, which is our on-the-field prowlers in the weight room, a pretty extensive lift, a hard lift, and then we watched the championship game, making corrections, letting them enjoy the big plays, and kind of, I want to say it's a little bit more relaxed, but yet when we needed to teach and correct, we did that. We'll go back on the field today and, have a regular practice. I don't want to slight Liberty in any way. I don't know anything about Liberty. I know a lot about De La Salle. We're going to have to try to say, okay, we'll prepare for De La Salle in the sense of it's a harder preparation because of the triple option. If it turns out to be Liberty, the little bit that we know about them, it's more of what we have faced in 14 games down here, a spread offense. And we can make that switch, pretty quickly. When you break the rest of the week down, we'll go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on the field, in our regular practice format. And then roll the dice and give them Saturday, Sunday, and then we'll give them the following Monday off, partially out of need because it's my third annual Rollo Invitational Golf Tournament, which is our #1 revenue raiser for the program, and then go back to work Tuesday, a week from yesterday, and that would be like a Monday. So we would go Tuesday through Friday, Friday being the day before the game practice, and then, kind of have a special night for them, a nice dinner, and a little bit of a fire up, and then go to work again the following Saturday.
Well, it's an exciting time to be sure for Mater Dei football and the whole Southern Section. Let's go back to the win over Bosco. This season has really been an interesting one in that there was a point in time where you guys were clearly the #1 team, not just in the section, but in the country after the win over IMG. And then with not just the loss to St. John Bosco, but the way that game went through, there were a lot of questions out there, not just, can you beat Bosco, but can it be close? They seem to have the perfect game plan, and as you've told me, they played the perfect game. What were some of the key things that you identified that not only you could do better, but you could do to keep Bosco at bay?
Well, Sam, you and I had talked about, I lost my team in some regards after the IMG win. And when you say that, what do you mean by lost, Bruce? Well, our intensity level in practice dropped. Our attention to detail dropped. And we saw it, and it wasn't improving. And now you play Bosco the first time around. And, people want to point at the postponement, the lightning, the inevitable, okay, we're going back home on the bus, not playing a football game, which if I ever do write a book, that'll get a whole chapter of that whole escapade, because not only was the game canceled, but it was pretty crazy out there with the amount of lightning and thunder, and then the downpour. But you know, I don't make excuses. You know, Bosco seemed to handle it well, and if anybody would have had it harder, they had to go back to Bellflower. We only had to drive 10 minutes down Flower Boulevard, and you know, but when we came back on Saturday night, we were not the same football team. I'm not naive enough to say, even myself, emotionally, it was hard, because I planned down to the minute for everything that involves Mater Dei football. And now we're on a 24-hour delay. You know, you find yourself, okay, do I rewrite my pregame speech? Do I rewrite the keys to victory? And I chose to say, okay, I'll just revisit them and emphasize. And when I look at that first game, we didn't play, you know, very well at all. There was not a lot of emotion. You know, we had a great learning tool from that point on, and there were a lot of upset kids in the locker room, which in reality, Sam, kind of pissed me off, because I don't like when we don't play well. You know, again, I don't make excuses. You know, I go, what are you so upset about? You know, you did nothing to play like a Mater Dei football team. You know, the defense panicked in the first half. And I've got the best defensive coordinator, if not in the state, and, you know, one of the best in the nation. And, you know, they unraveled. You know, the offense had opportunities and didn't produce. So, you know, as I told them that night, and I've said to you before, you know, okay, this isn't rocket science. You got to go 5 in a row, and then let's, you know, dry the tears up and let's take another run at this thing. And, you know, going into the game Saturday night, I knew we would have to play very, very well, completely different than we played the first time around. And you know, I depended on the coordinators to design the offensive and defensive game plan. And, you know, there were similarities to the first time, and there were some differences, you know, from the first time around. And you know, we made some plays. But the whole key was football, when you do it as long as I do it, you know, or I have done it, you know, they went right down our throats. Mm-hmm. You know, we blow a coverage. You know, I didn't panic. Somebody said to me later on, well, you were smiling after they scored. And I said, yeah, I was smiling because I knew what their mindset would be. We're going to roll them again. And you know, and I don't know if that's true or not, but I've been on the other side of those types of situations where we score early and then, you know, we come off the throttle a little bit.
But this time was the Rollo rope-a-dope.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I like that. So you know, it starts to unfold, and if I was nervous at all, you know, we were playing incredible on defense. I mean, I think they only had like 16 plays in the first half, and we were doing everything that I asked the football team to do, control the football. We went in and wanted to run it a little bit more and take a little bit of the sting out of them. We had some success, and they were gassed up. And I'm not afraid to say publicly, they've got one great defense. They
oh my gosh.
Run, and they hit. I mean, we had some sore kids after the game. But, you know, I also was going, we had opportunities, and we didn't convert those opportunities. You know, we missed a field goal. You know, the big turnaround, we're up 14-7, and, you know, we
had a chip shot field goal, and
chip shot field goal that I don't know if they could have, you know, taken it any slower. You know, we time everything, and you know, 1-2, 1-3 is about our average snap to hold it, to get the ball out. And we timed that one, and that was 1-9. You're not going to keep them out at 1-9.
Not Chris Steele.
Exactly. And, so it's a 14-point turnaround. Sure. I didn't even know, until I heard our crowd cheer, because I was walking back going, all right, I got to get mentally adjusted here, because we're back, they're back and they've got momentum. And then I hear the cheer and I glance back and said, oh, they missed the extra point. So, what I did know is when we got in at halftime, it was a typical meticulous Mater Dei coaching effort. We knew the adjustments we wanted to make. Some of those were pre-planned, some of those were on the fly. The kids were very calm, they were very receptive. We worked the room from, knowing that we would get the ball and talk to the kickoff return team and I think we probably went out and went, 3 and out, and I went, uh-oh. But then I saw the defense, just took off where they had left off. And, we had more opportunities. We get great field position with Rick's pick. We get great field position with Rajan's pick. We're pressuring DJ and we're taking the deep ball away from him. But we're responding on offense, but not the way you would like.
Sure.
But that's high school football.
Right.
And fortunately, it was a 48-minute game and not a 60-minute game. And the next thing you know, we're celebrating. And I've got the only football team in America that doesn't know how to douse the coach.
Well, there were some good ones this last, like Lawndale, the coach, they were coming after him, and the coach looked, do not put that water anywhere near me. And they put it right down. So clearly he has some influence. Bruce Rollinson, head coach of Mater Dei, with us here on the podcast. Just 2 more for you, Coach. Rematches are very rare in football. Yeah. You very rarely get these kinds of opportunities. And in talking to you, the first game, Bosco was better. Bosco had a perfect game. It's a phenomenal team, and they were the better team that day. The championship game, the one group that stood out beyond more than anyone else was your defensive unit. They had a perfect game. There are a lot of teams out there for, if there were a national championship game that have been mentioned. De La Salle is one. You'll likely get a shot at them. Allen from Texas is one. I'm curious if you could pick the national championship game, not as the coach of Mater Dei, not as a Southern Section advocate, but as someone who's a fan of the sport and thinks, I want the 2 best teams in high school football to go head-to-head. Would it be a Bosco Mater Dei round 3 for this year, or would you take on an Allen team, or is this De La Salle game the appropriate matchup for a national championship?
When I pose questions like this over my career, I don't think in those terms, and I'm not trying to dodge the question. I only think about what I can control, and what's in my control at this point is the winter Saturday night, and how I prepare my football team, which I went over at the beginning of the podcast. Our mentality this week. I don't know anything about Allen, Texas, other than, watching whatever that movie was, Friday Night Lights, And I know, Texas football is great. I don't want to play Bosco a third time.
Maybe that's the answer.
We had enough of Bosco, in the 2 meetings, and I have tremendous respect for Jason and tremendous respect for their ball club. I'll tell you what, they laid it on the line. And then the first time was they got us, and the second time, Jason and I have talked often, in 2016, we upset them in the regular season, and then they got back after us in a big way in the championship game, and the tables got reversed. I don't think we got after them in a big way. We were fortunate enough to win, and mythical titles and who's the best football team. Let's just keep it at, if it was up to me, I'm telling you, I would like to be done, be turning in gear. I'm not a big proponent, never have been, of this state game. And it's more of a safety issue. You know, I've alluded to that my team is tired. You know, think about it. We've gone since July 26th with the start of camp. You know, I made a joke, but it's a truism that, you know, their academics, I mean, they're you know, we're at a certain point, there's only so many hours in the day, and we're a commuter school. And, you know, I get worried about their grades. And honestly, I do. You know, how fast can they undo the damage? You know, they've had nothing but either football, a little bit of family time. So I don't worry about that. You know, you know, if we get chosen to be the national champions, great. You know, I'm very, very proud of the fact that we won a division title in what I consider to be one of the toughest competition level divisions in the nation. And now we have another opportunity to play the great game of football against, you know, one of the two of those Northern California representatives, and, you know, we got to get them back up and in, you know, a week and a half and close this thing. You know, it's a task, you know, and everybody, you know, I'm pushing my coaches, I'm pushing the administration, everybody's pushing at this point, you know, but yet it's exciting. It really is. It's exciting. I don't get caught up in the titles and stuff like that. What I'm more concerned about is that we, you know, we put the brand out there, we play well, we represent the high school, and you know, if it be, you know, the will, then we win it. You know, it's 48 minutes, and you got to do it between the lines. That's the bottom line. You know, you have to play well in this last game. I think they're excited. I don't think they'll be thinking about the CIF championship by the time we get going in a week and a half.
Last one for you, Coach. You know, we are in, I think it's a sports center generation, and what I mean by that is everything is geared towards the highlights, the cool stuff that happened before, and what's next, what's coming up. And everything's very forward-looking, and sometimes we lose the moments, which is what I love so much about football and sports in general. That's why I cover them the way that I do, because I like being in those moments. I know you do too. But we're in the generation we're in. Everyone's looking for what's to come for these kids. Where are they going recruiting-wise? Almost everyone on your starting lineup is going to play Division I football. But I want to ask about two in particular. One is Jacoby Harper, and the other is Brew McCoy. Brew, maybe the most recruited player, one of the most recruited players in your tenure at Mater Dei, which is saying something. And Jacoby is probably one of the most under-recruited players in your tenure, which is also saying something. You know, they're so different in terms of the attention they've gotten from college coaches, and yet such huge parts of your team. If you have an idea where they're going, I'd love for you to break some news here. But just tell me about what the process has been like, both trying to assist Brew, steering him in the direction that's going to be best for him, and, you know, create some more waves and some tailwind at Jacoby's back to get him where he deserves to be.
No, it's a great question. You know, you have to look at me philosophically. Okay, I only tell the kids, I'll be as involved as you want me to be involved in your recruiting. And I tell the parents the same thing, you know. And you have X number of parents who say, no, we'll handle the process. You have other parents that say, we want you fully involved. In Brew's case, it's been a combination of both. You know, you know, Shelby and Horace and I have met. The biggest thing with Brew that I wanted to get established is I knew there would be a ton of attention, there would be a ton of calls and tweets and Instagrams and all that stuff. And he's trying to graduate early, and that's a big load on a kid academically. He was able to get out in front of some of the classes in the spring and this summer, but he's still got an extensive load of 8 classes. And you know, he's got to stay on top of his academics, or the getting out early dream doesn't come to volition. You know, when the individual process, you know, you know, SC is one of his top schools, and I'm glad that SC was very quick within 24 hours after the Notre Dame game to announce that, you know, there would be stability at the head coaching position, because I knew a week or 2 weeks before that, I could just sense Brew was getting nervous. Am I saying he's going to USC? Of course not. But when it's in your top 3 and you're going to go through a coaching change, but that also adds to the pressure because, you know, with Texas and Oklahoma being right there, you know, in the hunt, you know, the volume of attention from those schools legally increased. You know, he's comfortable with announcing at the Army All-American game. I'm comfortable with that. You know, I'm not big on all that stuff, but if there's anybody that, you know, he's probably one of the higher character kids that can handle the media and do it in the proper way and thank the right people on national television. You know, do I speculate? Well, his parents live in Palos Verdes. So I don't think that's but a 15-minute drive to USC. I know, you know, to keep the excitement generating, he really liked his visit to Texas, and he's got a big soft spot for the Sooners. So, you know, it'll get interesting right down to the end. The flip side with Jacoby, I'm on the top of the desk right now advocating for Jacoby Harper, and
so am I. Sarah Takata makes fun of me saying I have no influence because I can't, you know, I don't know how many times we've said, will someone offer this kid a scholarship on air?
Well, and I was getting ready to thank you because, you know how good he is. And you've seen it since his sophomore year. You know, he was a difference maker as a young running back, and last year a phenomenal year. And this year, I mean, you know, every game is you know, he's showing what he's capable of doing. What I'm doing at this point, the schools that have come through in the last 3 days, because the recruiting season is now open, you know, I'm saying, look, somebody go back. You know I've got credibility in your building. You know I can evaluate talent. Please promise me you'll at least study him. And if you don't see fit for your school, spread the word. Most of the college coaches that have been through in the last 3 days are saying, Bruce, I don't think you have to worry. You know, somebody is going to pick him up. He's too good a football player. You know, the measurables, you know, what more can you do? You know, all the college coaches say the same thing. What is left in college football that's different than all the other sports in the NCAA is we are the last ones that you have game tape to evaluate. There's no clubs involved. There's no that stuff. You know, X amount of credibility to the passing stuff. And he shows well on tape. He shows everything that you need to see. Pass blocking ability, catching out of the backfield, multiple positions, and inside run and outside run. So, you know, I have really high hopes that somebody will say, all right, you know, we're going to pull the trigger and offer him. Like I tell guys, I guarantee you, because of what he's been put through, the first offer is going to have a lot of credibility towards landing this kid. And I'm hoping that you know, he's done dotted every I and crossed every T that is imaginable to not get a college scholarship. So, you know, he's got a little spot in my prayers at night too.
Well, let's hope he gets it, and he can feel free to come announce it with me anytime he wants. Bruce Rollinson, head coach of Mater Dei, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast. Thanks for all your help and hard work throughout the season, this one and years past, and looking forward to covering you for many, many more.
No, I appreciate it, Sam. And, you know, with Auto Productions and Fox, you know, it's been a great 30 years, and look forward to working with you again. I'm surprised you didn't get into the retirement stuff. So,
you want to make an announcement?
Yeah, I'm coming back. Okay,
it's done.
It is.
He's back. Bruce Rollinson, thanks so much.
Appreciate it.